You are watching K-Rights TV, where the truth continues.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Support and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Powers that be. Powers that be. Powers that be. Powers that be.
State-sanctioned kidnapping is when a state agency unlawfully removes a child or senior from a family's care by illegally editing court hearing tapes or manipulating the court files.
Victims of state-sanctioned child abductions.
It's difficult to believe how easily and quickly children are removed from their parents without any show of wrongdoing.
This amounts to nothing more than a state-sanctioned kidnapping.
Dockets are doctored.
The transcripts had been altered.
Fabricated medical evidence.
Tapes edited.
The altering
Of trial audio tapes.
The audio tapes were criminally edited.
Transcript tapes were edited.
Judges fixing transcripts.
Victims of false allegations of abuse.
Evidence of police wrongdoing, of edited tapes, of manufactured evidence.
The evidence is being manufactured.
Father proves courts edit tapes to remove the evidence that goes against the judge's ruling.
Okay.
They know what they're doing. And for them to pretend that they don't know that the records are being altered, these are not stupid people.
This is not just overzealous officials claiming to err on the side of caution for children's welfare. This is a systematic confiscation of children from their parents.
The desire to protect children, of course, is a noble desire. However, what this has turned into is an industry.
We'll tell your mama, we'll tell your pa, we're gonna send you back to Harvard Law.
The stories you've seen here may seem fantastic. In fact, they are very common and almost routine.
There's no penalty for government lawyers who incite their witnesses to commit perjury.
There's absolute immunity for prosecutors that could make conduct illegal and prosecute with the full force of government to create crimes.
A new set of crimes. It creates civil orders without rights, without your rights because you weren't there.
We often have what's called an ex parte hearing. That means one where only one side goes in and the other side doesn't get any notice, has no idea that there's a hearing going on, and doesn't even show up because they don't know what's happening.
And the incestuous nature sort of how the courts and the custody evaluators and the party that's being favored by those professionals in the court system kind of collaborate together.
Children, but in some cases the elderly, are effectively confiscated by court officials. Their estates are plundered.
I was put on trial by federal court.
I was sentenced to 6 months in jail.
And I faced a relentless series of charges.
Just two words: federal money.
So the incentive is not to keep the child in the home.
What you have now in this country is a situation where the judiciary and the bar are working together to run a criminal racketeering enterprise that is extorting money from people under color of office.
The courts are a criminal enterprise to get money, federal dollars, from the federal government.
The entire justice system has basically collapsed.
Is this a racketeering scheme? It certainly is. It's racketeering, it's extortion, there's a whole bunch of crimes that are going on. And you have judges that are accountable to no one.
We're standing in front of the Billerica House of Correction where I was wrongly incarcerated for most of the 5.5 months until my mother was able to remortgage the house to come up with the $50,000 cash bail that was required.
If you don't pay us this $150 per hour for the next 5 years, we're going to take the kid away from you. That's a little bit more of an extortionistic demand, because that results in money going directly into the pockets of the private individuals and agencies who are benefiting from this public process and using their authority as governmental agents to extort money out of a parent.
I not only discovered that the courts edited hearing tapes, but I discovered the motivation behind their doing these criminal acts, and that is massive federal funding.
The entire judicial system is corrupt.
They lost for gold. Your vote is sold. Take back the soul of our nation.
What they do is they offer the state a bribe.
or federal incentive to be involved and conduct themselves in such a manner.
Well, does it create statistics? Is it meant, I don't know that it's meant to create statistics, but it creates cases. And if cases create grants, then so be it.
For every child who is removed from the family home, there are 25 service providers who derive their livelihood from that child's removal. They have a vested interest in maintaining their income. They have a vested interest in maintaining their practice.
Child abuse by public officials.
The worst abuse I've experienced is at the hands of the government, and the worst abuse my child has experienced is at the hands of the government. That's the only abuse that's going on here.
Just to get the word out to the public, I filed a lawsuit against the State Bar for racketeering.
I reported case fixing, criminal activity in a court, and I have done 231 days in jail for basically reporting crimes.
And the consequence was that in secret tribunals, I lost my law license. They took it away, and they would not give me a public trial of the matter.
I had my license to practice law suspended without a hearing.
All total, I was arrested 26 times and prosecuted. Literally thrown in jail and prosecuted.
I'm attorney Eugene Rona, a Pennsylvania attorney who is in the process of being disbarred by the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania because I accuse the courts of criminal misconduct for the alteration of court proceeding.
These courts operate in secrecy. They are accountable to virtually no one. They usually leave no record at all of their proceedings.
I had to be silenced through serious discrediting. In other words, discredit me, this former Girl Scout in every sense of the word, by making me a criminal.
They wanted to do anything to see that I didn't win cases.
Lawyers who merely reported that their clients' tapes were illegally edited, boom, they're gone. Yeah. They're terrorized, they're beaten, they're thrown in jail. If I've been beaten, I've been thrown in jail unlawfully, I've been fined $20,000 unlawfully, and I've witnessed other political activists like myself who want to expose this being thrown in jail unlawfully.
And then finally, doing everything you could to psychologically destroy me so that I couldn't assist other people and extract what funds I have so that I couldn't defend myself.
June Maxim, the other speakers, and I are being victimized by domestic terrorists. Domestic enemies of the Constitution who use terror tactics to destroy and suppress all who oppose them.
Tear up the news. Party line views. Replace with your senses.
You have got to talk to your neighbors. Because the media, they're not going to report on it.
Kevin Thompson, whose book on judicial corruption in Massachusetts has been banned.
And this federal funding is having a terribly corruptive effect on journalists, on academics, on prosecutors, on court officials of all kinds.
I found out that every time I exposed public corruption or white-collar crime, the people who I exposed faced no charges, and I faced a relentless series of charges.
The press is biased, and your story does not come out. The true story does not come out.
Our boys are fighting to bring freedom and justice in foreign lands, while here at home it is being stripped from us.
Right.
It's a trick played on all of us.
Why would courts and judges do this sort of a thing? The answer to that question is just two words: federal money.
And they just simply created this statute, created all these committees, created these jobs, created these industries, and no one's going to stop them because there's no one to stop them.
So there is an industry completely built up around the redistribution of our children. Who gets the checks for the services that are offered? It's not the parents, and it's not the child. It's the service providers.
I'm here in Washington, D.C. today to ask the federal government why federal funds are available to the legal industry to prey on society's weakest members: our elderly, our handicapped, our mentally challenged, and our children.
This court system is riddled with abuses, with corruption, with graft. Children are effectively walking bundles of cash. Whoever controls the children can get money from the federal government.
The legislature, the judiciary, the legal system lusts after these federal funds.
The federal government is the locomotive driving this whole thing. They're taking otherwise normal courts and they're adding fuel in the form of federal money to subsidize certain actions that they want to see happen.
They ended up creating an industry. An industry. People getting arrested without a hearing and things of that nature, and all having to do with the change in the law.
Judges gave themselves immunity for their decisions, as long as those decisions were not malicious or corrupt. A few years later, the court took the malicious and corrupt away.
Judges have given themselves immunity. Are you aware of that?
I read that about...
Absolute immunity.
Yeah.
They've given lawyers qualified immunity. And in my case, Margaret Marshall used my case to rewrite the anti-SLAPP law to give social workers who commit perjury in court immunity. And the immunity, which are totally un-American, we're all supposed to be equal before the law, but they've made themselves into an aristocracy that operates above the law.
The judges had created immunity. They had created such a thing called sovereign immunity, and I'd look at the Constitution and I'd say, how can you come up with this thing called sovereign immunity where the government is not accountable to the people? How can that happen? There's not a word of it in the Constitution. In fact, the whole idea of the Constitution is the government should be accountable to the people.
How does judicial immunity jive with the concept, the constitutional concept, that all men are equal before the law?
And if you want to continue to have a relationship with your child, you do as we say, or we'll take your child away.
The harm that they do to the children of our nation, that's incredible. You're talking tens of thousands of children being harmed by these judges' actions just so they can collect money from Washington.
When they interfere with the family unit, undermine parental authority, and substitute state decisions for parent decisions, that is going to be the beginning of the destruction of our society.
Justice! When do we want it? Now! When do we want justice? When do we want it? Now!
Is it a big leap to consider that these people who are doing unconstitutional and illegal acts to empower themselves and industries, the legal industries that they belong to, is it a big stretch to really think that they would go so far as to edit tapes?
I guess not.
How can you have a government and all of its little governors being immune at the same time have a right to petition government for redress?
We'll be handing out some flyers trying to raise some awareness and bring some exposure to the sedition and treason that takes place daily in our courtrooms.
Isn't there anybody with a conscience in our judicial system or our government?
Well, the more I asked, the more I saw that it was somehow buried in the field of law and the people, the governed, their inability to control the government.
Thomas Jefferson warned us all that the biggest danger to America isn't from abroad, it's from within, and it's from the judiciary. He, a lawyer, points out that the judiciary is the greatest threat to our democracy. And he's turned out to be more than correct.
More than, yeah.
Yeah.
Come back! Oh, baby, come back! Come back! Baby, please come back!
The courts are a criminal enterprise to get money, federal dollars, from the federal government.
Hi, my name is Larry Rattan. If you give me 6 minutes, I'm going to prove to you and legislators that divorce laws have little or no meaning. Legislators work very hard to give us fair laws, but they have been tricked into including some detrimental language. You think the law tells the judges to evaluate each person, what they have contributed, then make an equitable separation of the marriage. You will plainly see how these so-called laws can easily be ignored. The results have been a goldmine for the justice system and a disaster for divorcing couples. This is not a male and female issue. Many women pay alimony to their exes until they die. Some of those exes work very little or not at all to support themselves. To eliminate the gender aspect, I'm going to use worker for the income provider and ex for the secondary or non-provider. I'm going to show you an actual case. Then I'm going to explain how and why I think the grossly lopsided decisions happen. This is not about one case. This is one example of how thousands have been unfairly victimized by the justice system. At trial, this case revealed the following facts about the ex and the worker. The ex admitted in court that they had an affair, then asked for a divorce. They said their spouse was good. They secretly took money from a marital account for their private accounts. They collected unemployment for being fired. Later, they said they were not fired. And then they said they didn't need to help with the family business because they were employees. Discovered in court about the worker was that the worker was declared absolutely honest by the neutral forensic CPA. The worker asked the ex to help with the family business. The worker provided overwhelming evidence that they were the driving force of the family's success. And the worker helped raise the ex's child from a previous marriage. That's a pretty good accurate snapshot of the people involved in this divorce. Now, here's what the judge ruled was a fair settlement. The judge said the ex will get the beach home and the worker will pay both mortgages and current taxes. Number 2 is very important. The ex can work a part-time minimum wage job that is lower than the lowest level set by the vocational evaluator and far below the $33,000 job possibility. The worker will pay the ex $1,800 a month alimony for the rest of their life. Continuing on, number 4, the judge said the ex will be freed from all marital debt. The worker will pay all $1,115,000 in debt and $728,000 in interest. It'll take 30 years to pay this off. Number 5 and 6 is very important. Number 5, the worker will pay the ex $240,000 cash settlement instead of $91,000. The lower amount would share the workload and bills. The judge ruled that the ex needed $240,000 with no bills or work. The worker asked to pay on $240,000 instead of alimony. The judge said no. The ex needed $240,000 and alimony. Continuing on, number 7, the judge ruled that the worker will get the family boat, but the ex had the boat seized and sold at auction to pay on the $240,000. The ex got the boat at a bargain price. The worker will get 2 businesses, but one business was forced to be sold to pay on the $240,000. The worker got the beach triplex that was 200% underwater, and the worker got a home near work that was 100% financed. Anyone can see that this is a very lopsided decision. The ex is given a life of luxury, the worker is forced into overwhelming debt, work, and pays alimony until they die. This is how the law gets twisted. This is the divorce law 6108 concerning alimony. If you look at the law, it looks very fair and equitable to both sides. But if you look closely, you're going to see a lot of little words like may, can, and consider. Here are some of those words that I've highlighted. I call these qualifiers because they actually cancel out the words that follow. Those are the words orange highlighted in this page, right, that actually mean nothing. In other words, the judge may or may not follow the law. People soon find out that they are dealing with the judge's whim, not the law. Why some judges produce lopsided settlements might have something to do with money. Most people don't realize that lawyers can give money directly to judges. They call it a campaign donation. A big donation will affect a person's decisions. Judges are not saints. They're lawyers in robes. Money might explain another odd aspect about divorces. Some divorces last 5 or 6 years, while murder trials last 2 or 3 months. Murder trials are complicated. A divorce is basically cutting a pie in half. do lawyers and judges intentionally drag out trials to produce big profits? Let's follow the money. Divorcing couples have to pay lawyers, and lawyers give money to judges. And then not only that, these two particular lawyers, but you'll find out that there's a whole squadron of lawyers that pay money to judges. So it's not in the interest of any of these judges or lawyers and judges to stop a case early, to finish early. They have every reason to want to make a case last as long as they possibly can. And sooner or later, what's going to happen is the judge says, well, I'm overwhelmed. My caseload is just overwhelmed. So I'm going to need some more judges to help me with this. And along with more judges comes some more secretaries, court reporters, and they got to have some sheriffs to protect them from all these decisions that they make. All of this because these two entities are allowed to just take their time at trial. Judges and lawyers have no incentive to wrap up a case. They do have every incentive to keep a case going as long as they can. The last why for lopsided decisions might be because they start a whisper campaign. A 30-year study from Brown University proved this to be 74% successful. The lucky person with the big settlement tells all their friends, neighbors, and possibly your spouse how great a divorce is. The judge allows them to sit around with little or no responsibilities and collect alimony from their exes until they die. This is a walking, talking advertisement that unknowingly spreads the great benefits of a divorce. I hope legislators can see that the current system is seriously broken. Please, do not allow the judicial branch to tell you what you can and cannot do. They are experts at twisting your words into profits for themselves. You make the rules. Every time you give up your power, you make your job less important. Please, do not vote yourself out of existence. Thank you very much.
So what is a non-custodial parent? A non-custodial parent is an American citizen, citizen of the United Kingdom, Australia. A non-custodial parent is a person with the rights of every other citizen in the same country of their origin that has been stripped of every right that belongs to every other citizen in the same country of their origin. And it has been stripped by a law called, in America, USC 42, ready, 666. That law takes and makes you a non-custodial parent by law. Now, it's all because of a system called non-fault divorce, which came about from someone needing to be at fault for the divorce. It's a feminist move, and it has just destroyed family, and along with USC 42666, has become a serial family killer. It has become a serial civil rights killer. Non-custodial parents have been turned into second-class citizens by this law. And once non-custodial parents realize that, and once non-custodial parents realize that in their voice joined together, they can influence and change. Right now, there is a need and there is a way. You talk to senators, you send them letters. I don't care what anyone says. We need to start letting our voices be heard. Let the slow drumbeat of the plight of the non-custodial parent be heard. That goes to everything from parental alienation, the violation of custody and visitation orders, the child support enforcement system. I mean, I just heard where Colorado takes and other states takes fishing license. What if you need to eat? My God. Time for reform has come. I have proved, and I'm going to lay it out very carefully, evidence by evidence, exhibit by exhibit. I'm going to lay it out, and we're going to show true corruption inside the Child Support Enforcement Agency again. But this time, we're going to take it to much, much further and greater, deeper levels. So we're going to expose the child support system across the board. They can either change their arrogance, they can change their ways, they can change their mindset, and they can work not to enhance themselves, but work to enhancing the lives of children and maintaining the lives of both parents. It's got to be that way, and it's going to be that way, and we're going to make it that way. I have been hearing from people, and there's something that I would like to talk about, and that is this issue of deadbeat dads, deadbeat parents. You know, there is a percentage, blah, 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 that we can go on and talk about the fact that certain people are just deadbeat and will not take care of their obligations. But it is not an epidemic. It is an exception rather to the rule. And what I mean an exception to the rule is the fact that all parents want to love and adore their children. The majority of parents ache every time their children are away from them. Other parents desperately hold on through the acts of parental alienation by the psychopath attitude and acts of the other parent. The malicious mother, the malicious father syndrome, the psychopath that holds your children, the monster that's trying to raise your children away from you and keep them from you is just that, a monster. And they need to be recognized as that, and they need to be recognized as an abuser, and they need to be taken in front of the court, and the court level harsh penalties against them. It is a must. It is something that must happen. They level harsh penalties for missing a child support payment for 3 weeks. We can level the playing field. And all the people inside the child support enforcement agencies should be shaking inside their legal boots. There's no need for violence. There's only need for legal action and legal construency. And when I can say struency, I mean they're the ones that construe the law and try to make rules way over law and statute. Make what they want to be, whatever they want to be in their game of monopoly to work for them, and violate every single moral category that keeps a society together. Do not question me when I tell you that the people inside the child support enforcement system, people inside of family law, they are felons. I can prove a whole group of felons to you, and I will. I will. And those felons will hopefully inspire others that are good people to expose more felons. You know, K-Rights Radio is here to help you, the non-custodial parent. We really believe in you. I am one, have been one. But I take my approach a little differently. I believe I've been given a different kind of responsibility, for good or for worse, you know. But I accept it and I take it. And that is to give you a voice, to allow you to be able to talk to other non-custodial parents, possibly bond in your neighborhood. I know there's other groups that are trying to do this. This is not in contrary to what they are trying to do. It's simply in an addition. And if they want to be part of us, me want to be part of them, whatever, I don't care. It's all about getting our voices heard. It's all about getting out there. It's all about making sure that the world knows that this is going to be changed for our children. So they want to marry. We have a whole generation that just doesn't want to marry. They don't trust any of it. They don't want any of it. They run from it. It's not what we want for our children. We want our children to be able to have as full and exciting life as we had. We want our children to be able to prosper, to do better than what we did. But the system, USC 42666, that law, that beast, that antichrist, if you will, that anti-family law is the exact thing that's keeping this all from happening. In fact, they're writing rules in their own game of monopoly to confuse the rules they already have, so the rules that are confused there are confused in civil procedure, and therefore they're trying to override legal moral authority that you and me as Americans, as Britons, as Argentinians, as Australians, as Africans, as Nigerians, as Egyptians, as whatever our nation of origin is, that is captured by this horrible, horrible feminist act. It's all to make the single mommy an honorable brand. That's all this is about. It's simply about to be able to enforce the single mother and how powerful she is. Ladies, I have to ask you, if you have to tell me every single day of the week, every hour you get a chance of how powerful are you, really must not be that powerful. Gosh, I think women are powerful just by them being them. Just by them being the living, vibrant people they are. And most women believe that's who they are. But they've let a media corrupted on selling them more of things to drive home into them good, secure women a level of insecurity they should have never have had in the first place. Come on, America. Come on, the world, wake up. It's time to wake up. It's time for everybody to get a hold of themselves, to get over themselves, and to grow up. Me included. There is a universe of knowledge waiting out there for us, and there are ways that us as non-custodial parents can embrace other non-custodial parents, and there are ways we can all join together to move this ball that has not been able to be moved for 20 years in any really significant matter. I would get it right sooner or later. It's on my own. So it's like, come on. Do you just want to sit around and moan and groan and cry and play a victim or be part of the system and be part of the problem? Or do you really want to try to join together in union as a brotherhood, a sisterhood, as a group of people who are trying to make a difference and trying to make things better for our own children? I would think that if there's any infighting, it'd stop. I would think that there's any jealousy inside among others, it would stop. I think that if we are really taking our responsibility as parents to where things are most important towards our children when our children are born, that they become the most important things in our lives, then we learn how to unite and fix this for our kids, for our children's children, for their children. The world's not going to destruct Nibiru, all of this stuff that all of these guys and girls rave about, Bible prophecy, all of this and that. Through good hearts, through good belief, through good people, it can be changed. God is willing to change it and let the timeline slip to the right a whole lot further. Everybody thought World War II. Everybody thought this. Everybody thought that. Y2K, planes flying from the sky. Oh my God, it was going to be the end. And then came the Mayan calendar. Woohoo! Done. Here we sit, 2016, and now we got a whole new line of these BS prophecies running out there. If they come true, it's like I was talking to my friend today, a really good friend of mine, Kyle. I was talking with him and saying, you know, in order for us to be destroyed here where we are in Colorado, it would take a wave 6,000 foot high to wash everything out. And I guess if there's a wave that's going to come at us at 6,000 feet high, I guess, you know, say howdy. It was a great time to enjoy it. But quit worrying, quit letting these fear mongers take over your heart. Quit letting them take over your energy. They are energy vampires. That's simply what they are. Come on. Get your heart up. Get your heart for your kids. Get your heart strong so you can be there for your kids. Remember that your kids are the most important thing there is. There's the most important thing. And I'll be able to talk like a normal person here soon. So, we're K-Rights Radio. We're figuring a lot of things out. We're learning how to get this back together. We want to be nothing but positive information, positive feedback, positiveness to you. And as I leave on the whole deadbeat parent issue. It's not an issue of deadbeat, it's an issue of dead broke. Most parents today, they're just flat dead broke. They don't have the money. The Child Support Enforcement Agency, they're getting fearful because they can't get the right amount of matching federal dollars so they can pay all of their people and continue all their flying on airplanes and jets and having big dinners and big parties and big get-togethers while non-custodial parents are going homeless, their credit is being destroyed, and these people are all telling us to let them eat cake. What is this? These child support enforcement people, they're felons. They're committing felonies. They're committing gross violations in the name of their own rules and not the law. So I'm going to let you go for today. We are K-Rights2. Give me a call. Email me. Let's get your stories out. Let's get together. Stand in silence. And God bless each and every one of you. Hang tight.
K-Rights TV, where the truth continues.